Okay, we're going live now, Julie.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Nelson Area Committee. The first item of business will be appointment of chair for the meeting, because unfortunately chair and vice chair are unable to be with us this evening. Do I have a nomination for chair?
Asjad Mahmood.
Can I move Councillor Iqbal?
Councillor Iqbal.
So nomination Councillor Iqbal. Do we have a seconder? So I'm struggling to hear. Have we got a seconder?
I'll second it.
Yeah. Thank you. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Is everyone happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any objection? Is anyone against? No. Okay, thank you. Councillor Iqbal, if you'd like to take the chair.
Cheers, thanks a lot, Julian. Good evening, colleagues and members of the public that are watching the Nelson Area Committee meeting this evening. I'm just going to do a quick roll call of councillors to make sure they're here. If you are here as councillors, if you can just indicate you are here and then mute yourself, please. Councillor George Adam.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nadeem Ahmed.
Yes.
Thank you. Zafar Ali.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mohammed Amar.
Yes.
Thank you. Eileen Ansar. No. Mohammed Aslam.
Yes.
Tommy Cooney.
Yes.
Thank you. Julie Henderson. No, I'm obviously here. Asjad Mahmood.
Yes.
Neil McGowan, we've got apologies for. Councillor Saqib, we've got apologies for. Councillor Kathleen Shaw. No, not yet. Yvonne Tennant, who has sideways.
Yeah, again.
And Sheila Wicks. Sheila, you there? No. Okay, I'm just going to also check the speakers, that we've got speakers for some of the items. So if the speakers can please indicate if they're here or not as well. In terms of the erection of 9 dwellings at Bamford Street, I've got Mr. Sean Wallace. Mr. Wallace, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And then in terms of change of use of a social club to retail at the Palatine Working Men's Club, I've got Rahila Iqbal.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And I've also got Almira Iqbal.
Yeah.
Sorry, was that Almira saying she's here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. And then in terms of the erection of dormers to 69 Loamshire Road, but I think, is it 64? I think we've got the right numbers. 68 Loamshire Road. I've got 2 speakers, Gadia Kama.
Here.
And Umar Farouk.
Yes, present.
That's fine. Okay, thank you very much for that. So the format is that obviously we will debate the agenda. I'll deal with the planning applications first. If members of the public or councillors are not indicated to speak, I'd be grateful if you could please mute yourself, because then there's little interference in terms of the meeting. In terms of apologies, we've already got apologies from Councillor Neil McGowan and Councillor Mohammed Saqib. Is there any other apologies?
I've not received any more, Chairman.
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot, Jane. Item 1 is declarations of interest. Is there any councillors that have got any declarations of interest to declare for any item?
Here I have.
Who's that? Councillor Aslam?
Yeah. It's Norfolk Street. It's my son's building.
Okay, so are you declaring a prejudicial interest?
Yeah.
So when we come to that item, if you leave the meeting and then you'll have to dial back in, Nadeem or somebody will ring you once. Okay, anybody else? Nope. Okay, item 2 is public question time. Are there any members of the public on the meeting, Jane, who wish to ask a question? taking a call at the moment. Is there any members of the public on the meeting who wish to ask a question that's not on the agenda? No. Okay. Item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting. Everybody happy they're a correct record?
Let's move them.
Yes.
I'll move
Okay.
them. Yeah, that's correct record.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, doke. Thank you for that. Anybody disagree?
PCSO Pinder and
Nope.
PCSO Shout.
Chairman. Sorry, Chairman.
Nadine?
Is now
Yeah,
joining.
just I'm not sure if it's a comment to make at this stage or later on, but in terms of the Every Street item, which there's a verbal report later on, but we asked for a proper report, and the intention was going to be a written report, not just a verbal update.
Right. Well, I've got a verbal update from Environmental Health, but if you've heard that and then you still want a full report, then we'll ask officers to bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay. In terms of the progress report, everybody happy to note that? Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to police issues. I understand there are a couple of colleagues from the police that are on the meeting. Sorry, I don't have any names in front of me, but if those colleagues wish to introduce themselves and help us in terms of police issues that are affecting us.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, I can. Who's this?
All right, this is PCSO Pinder and I'm with PCSO Shack. Sorry, we've been struggling to get this to work for a while, but
Sorry.
overall, unfortunately, crime has gone up. It's gone up since last month by 69 total cases. However, ASB has risen by 71 in the past month, so that obviously explains it. Now, I believe this is due to more logs due to changes to coronavirus rules per ward in Pendle, and obviously there's different rules depending on the ward that you live in. I think it leaves frustration as some people are following the rules and they're getting frustrated and annoyed by those that aren't following and are mixing. It's also reports of people refusing to wear masks. In a lot of cases, people report large gatherings, but however, we've attended and it's actually a big household. So it's a couple of houses that have been built into one. So really, they are following the rules with the same people from the same household. Other than that, crimes are stayed the same. Burglaries, commercial burglaries have gone down. Looking at our overall picture, we are having Wolverden has been fairly quiet over the past month, that ward. Not really had any issues. We do have an issue on Newfield Drive. That has increased logs quite a bit. Now, this has gone from youth causing antisocial behaviour to tenants, problem tenants, but it's now changing around different properties. So we're going to have some target days there where we'll spend a couple hours showing a visible presence there. We've also got issues in Holly Street, number 4 Holly Street, with noise and visitors and people on the street getting frustrated as obviously COVID, you can't have visitors at the moment. The council are in touch with us on that one. I know a big issue across the whole of Nelson is vehicle speeding, popping exhaust, etc. And it's been a big issue highlighted by many across Nelson residents, ourselves. So we are planning to have high and low intensity days where some days we'll have lots of neighbourhood and some police officers out and about with speed cameras, you know, giving section 59s out to those not driving carefully. Yeah, and also, have you been explained to previously about Lancashire Talking?
I think we've had an introduction to that a couple of months ago from when Scott Bose came.
Great. Yeah, but that we really want to get a hold of it in a minute and get as many people within, obviously, Nelson community on board with it. Then we can find out direct issues that are causing people to be concerned. And once they've reported it on Lancashire Talking, it correlates the results for us. So,
Sheila Wicks.
Is now joining.
say people were in the same area and they were reporting the same issue, but nobody would call in 101 because they didn't. It obviously can take a while to get through, and if it's just minor, then if they do it on that, the results will correlate, and then we can target it. We can do some specific targeted police work. Also, I'd like to bring up, we are having a new recruitment drive. This has started now, where we're specifically targeting people from BAME backgrounds, so we can try and increase the diversity in the police force. So this is for the police degree apprenticeship. Now, we have a QR code that people can scan if they're interested to get more information, to put the name forward, even if it's not for a police officer role, for any other role. Now, anybody can do this, but there is a specific target to increase diversity in the police force. I think that's all from me for now. Does anybody have any questions?
Colleagues, if you've got a question, if you just want to raise your hand, and I can see on the chat. Nadeem, you've indicated to speak. Nadeem Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to go back to, in terms of some of the figures. In the past, when we've had reports to the area committee, we've had a breakdown for specific crimes. I know there's a couple of them have been mentioned, but we usually, for example, got figures for domestic burglary, violent offences, that sort of thing. But we've not had a breakdown in terms of the ward, the figures for each ward for quite some time. I know when you mentioned Walden, George smiled. That made him happy when Walden was mentioned in terms of figures. So I think it'd be helpful if we could get a breakdown in terms of, even not specifically maybe not if we can't do the wards, but at least in terms of the crimes, particular crimes in each area. I think that would be good. I didn't quite follow the point in terms of COVID. You mentioned COVID right at the beginning in terms of things that are taking place against the rules. So I didn't quite follow that point in terms of how that's related to the crimes figures. So that's the question I want to ask first of all, Chairman.
Can you just clarify that, PCS Orpinder, in terms of the COVID situation you mentioned?
Yeah, so basically, all crime, the total of all crime has gone up from, I'm looking at July to August. So in July it was 345 as a total for all crime, and all crime at the end of August was 414. So that means it's gone up by 69 roughly. And then I've highlighted that antisocial behaviour has increased from 167 reports in July to 238 reports in August. Now this has gone up by 71 reports. But what we're having, obviously, because in the wards, for Ola Nelson, the 6 wards, they're classed as high risk. So it's gone back to the original rules where you can't mix with people from different households, even in a public space. You can't have family around your house. I don't even think you can have people from, like, obviously your social bubble around. So people are, like, more, we've had more reports about, oh, this family's mixing with another family, this family's going to another household, or just stuff like that. And like on the streets, oh, there's gatherings in the parks, there's people out from, it's just people reporting, more people being together when they shouldn't be. We've also had some reports where the mobile testing unit, which is on Broadway, we had a couple of incidents there where they were having problems with people going on and saying it's coronavirus is a conspiracy, stuff like that, and then demanding that they can park on there because it's a public car park, but obviously it's being used for COVID testing. Does that clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, that's fine. And just one final, in terms of, you mentioned in terms of the roles which you're trying to encourage BME communities to join the police force or in different roles, could you please provide the details to Jane and then they can be circulated to councillors?
Yeah, so yeah, does if I get emailed some details, what I can do is I can forward a picture of the QR code, and it's basically a card we've been given as PCSOs so I could forward you this. What we don't want to do, though, is we don't want it to go over Facebook, social media, in the paper, etc., because we want it to be targeted, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll get the email address to you tomorrow to send the details to.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd really appreciate that. It'd be a massive help. And also, if you wanted to look at other figures, unfortunately, crime has gone up everywhere. The only place it's gone down is commercial burglaries. From looking from last month, let me just get these figures together. Vehicle crime has only gone up by 2, so it's quite a low result. Hate crime has stayed the same. Assaults have gone up by 10. And theft has gone up massively. Now, we did have a spree where 2 individuals were going on a big spree around certain stores, just stealing whatever they could. One of them has now been locked up for 10 months, and the other's on a suspended sentence for 4 months as a result of this. And they are looking to get a CBO. Is the police officer for Bradley. So hopefully that will stop them in their tracks, because then if they go in the stores on that CBO, that means that they can get arrested without excuse.
Okay, that's fine. Is there any other councillors that wish to ask the officers any questions?
Yes, Chair.
Ask Chad.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just in regards to the speeding cars. Yeah, I mean, I was going to put this on the agenda item for next month, but that's a very big issue on Manchester Road, and also around where Ridley Courts is in Briarfield, and people are overtaking at some stupid speeds. I think the other day, where Ridley Court is, there's a car must have been doing about 70 to 80 miles per hour. I was coming from, just finished work at 8 o'clock in the evening, and it was heading towards the Burnley direction. It's a serious accident waiting to happen, where a life could be lost. And I think, and the same again on Manchester Road, people overtaking it, when their cars or coming in the opposite direction. Something big and needs to be done about this. Something serious needs to be done about this, where this is stopped, because, like I say, some lives could be lost because of some stupidity of some drivers there.
Yeah, of course, it's a massive danger involved. That's what I was trying to explain. Last time I was on the committee meeting, I was started putting together a pot. Now, this is like a plan of action for us to engage with partners and work on this type of issue. So this is what we're going to do with the speeding and obviously dangerous driving. So the high intensity days, we're going to get all of our neighbourhood team across Pendle, which is quite a lot of us, and it consists of PCs and PCSOs, Community Road Watch. We've teamed up with VOSA, who are going to come out on these high intensity days. We're going to spend a few hours in each area. We're going to try and get, obviously, problem streets from our residents, so it's not just all us, and we can have some feedback to where we need to target. So to say Manchester Road, we'll target that. So if anybody wants to highlight any specific problem roads which will be safe to carry this kind of operation out on, then I'd be happy to hear them. We will also have low intensity days, which will probably be more frequent, which will involve myself and PC Lunny, who is based at Colne, and a couple more of us who will go out with speed cameras in patrol cars, obviously observing traffic, and if anyone's seen driving in that manner, they'll be dealt with accordingly.
Okay.
Chairman, can I come in?
Zafar, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, PCSO Pinder, for that update. In terms of some of the problematic zones, I agree with Councillor Astrad and Manchester Road, but there are also particular concerns around Chapel House Road and also Wade's House Road. And it appears to be, as you mentioned before about exhaust poppings and all the rest of it, but in terms of the hours of this project that you're looking at, having the intensity and non-intensity days, do you have an idea in terms of the hours that you're going to be working within?
I do not have a figure yet, as we're just currently in negotiations with Bosa, who are the partner agency that are going to work with us on it. We're just trying to organise the days, but we're going to spend like a full day on it. When I get by the next committee meeting, I'll hopefully have more, and hopefully we'll have done a couple of them days, so I can have some statistics for you.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, colleagues, is rather than publicising which days the police are going to do, I'd much rather they just did the day. Because if we start publicising which day they're going to be out, then all the really careful young drivers who do the exhaust popping and racing will just take a day off that day. And the police will come back to us. The police will come back to us and say, "Well, there's no problem." So rather than publicising it, I think we'd urge you just to go ahead and do it and catch as many culprits in the act as possible.
Yeah, we won't be publicising it probably till the end of the run. So then, once we've finished it all, then we can at least give some statistics and results to the people, so they have a bit more confidence that we are taking action and we won't tolerate the dangerous driving that is occurring in the area.
Excellent.
Through you, Chairman. So just for PCSO Pinder's records, it's Chapel House Road and Wades House Road, which fall under the Clover Hill ward. I'd kindly urge you to take a look at that zone as well. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I've noted them down, and if there's any other, if anyone thinks of any and they want to email me, obviously we'll have to do it where it's safe to do so we can pull someone over if they are.
Thanks again on behalf of the committee for coming.
Yeah, no, I'll be happy to listen. Also, I just wanted to introduce another PCSO. I'm PCSO Pinder, and I'm PCSO Shack has joined us today, and will be with us for the.
Okay, that's fine. Excellent. Thank you very much. Moving on, colleagues, to the planning applications. My proposal is to deal with them in the order that we've got speakers. So the first application is for the erection of up to 9 dwellings at the former allotments on east of Firthcliffe Head on Bamford Street. And I've got Mr. Sean Wallace to speak. Mr. Wallace, you've got up to a maximum of 5 minutes in which to address the committee. You're not allowed to speak after that unless the council wants to ask you a specific question. But if you want to unmute yourself, and if everybody else please mutes themselves, Mr. Wallace, you've got up to 5 minutes in which to address us. The floor's yours.
Okay, can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
We can indeed.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, thanks for the opportunity to speak to the committee this evening. I'm delighted to note that the planning officer, Charlotte Pinch, has recommended that the committee approve the outline planning application. I'm also pleased to note that the report to the committee, and in that report, Charlotte indicates that the application meets the local and national housing planning framework and complies with the development plan, which is reassuring. Furthermore, she notes that there are no material reasons to object to the plan. Magnus Engineering, who work on my behalf, have submitted the necessary specialist report surveys.
PCSO Pinder and PCSO Shack
is now exiting.
Sorry, go on, Mr. Wallace. Colleagues would exit.
Right, sorry. I made various modifications to the original plan so that any initial objections from various agencies were removed. So this is an exciting opportunity to build 9 modern houses and provide safe and relatively affordable homes in a low-density development, the plot being about 1 acre in size. The plan reflects its semi-rural location with built-in recreational open spaces. The house plans are modern with charge points and electric for electric cars and charging storage points for electric bikes. And the aim is to blend the development in with the existing housing stock. I think the pandemic has shown the need to move away wherever we can from high density terrace dwellings. And when that's possible, I know that Nelson Council is interested and forward thinking in upgrading their housing stock, and this would be a small contribution towards that. It is, of course, essential to bolster the local economy at this time. The development costs of the build we've estimated at around about 750,000, and this is a significant private investment in the future of Nelson. All recommendations from the pre-plan response were implemented in full. the public consultation process resulted in 1 response for and 1 against the proposed development. So given that all suggestions, amendments and modifications to the existing plans have been made to the satisfaction of all stakeholders, and to my knowledge there are now no objections remaining, I ask you to approve the plan.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Wallace. Appreciate your comments.
Thank
Before
you.
I bring any councillors in, I'll kick off the bit. I mean, it's really refreshing as far as I'm concerned to see such a development where an actual developer talks about blending into the semi-rural area of that part of Nelson, and secondly, not overdevelopment in terms of the site, because we've dealt with applications where as many houses as possible have been crammed into small spaces. And Southfield, we've had a number of residents come to us on previous applications where they've been unhappy. And I think it's commendable to Mr. Wallace in terms of the way that he set out this application, both in terms of design, layout, and some of the features that are incorporated into the development. And I'm happy to move from the chair that we approve this application with the recommendations as set out by the officer. Do I have a second?
Happy second that. Happy second that, yeah.
Who's that? Asjad?
Yes.
Okay. Yvonne, Councillor Yvonne Tennant?
Yeah, I've just got a couple of questions, really. Does the applicant actually own the land, or is it council land?
Mr. Wallace, own the land, yes. Mr. Wallace owns the land, Yvonne.
Mr. Wallace owns the land. Okay, so you're looking at 750,000 for the build in that area. I noticed on the report there was talk about building over sewers, and you might have to pay to get sewers diverted. What kind of an impact would you think that would have on your budget, basically? I'm wondering about the financial viability of it. And I believe that there have been some objections put in today. I was certainly copied into an email for them, which I think went to some of the officers and some of the other borough councillors. So I just wanted a bit of clarity on stuff. One of the objections stated there was actually a Liberator report for the build on, I think it was the Jimmy Nelson site, when there'd been a wildlife survey done. And they thought there was a badger set on that site, and it turned out not to actually be on that site, but to be on your site. Which again would be another cost if badgers had to be relocated. So I was just wondering if you'd kind of thought around that. And I'm really sorry, but my camera's not working. I hate speaking to a blank screen, but it's not going. So just a, yeah.
Mr. Wallace, can you help my colleague with those questions?
Yeah, so I mean the costing is a broad brushstroke costings because the conditions weren't fully appreciated when we haven't got to that stage yet. Many of the people I deal with don't want to have a proper conversation with me about detailed costings and so forth until we know what the restrictions are and we have outlined planning permission in place. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. In relation to the badger set, I believe it's on the council land, which is adjacent to mine. Which is the other side of the river. So whether it needs relocating or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe Alex, you've indicated to speak. Alex Cameron, our planning officer. Can you help Councillor Yvonne Tennant with a couple of questions?
In terms of the financial viability of the development, that's not something that can be taken into account in refusing a planning application or the only circumstance it can be is positively where we are requiring contributions from a developer, and then viability can be taken into account as to whether or not those contributions are reasonable. But as far as resisting an application, there is no basis in planning for doing that on grounds of financial viability. In terms of the ecology surveys, that's something if it is a concern of the council, we could defer to look into in more detail.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry,
Mr. Wallace. You wanted to add something?
On the pre-plan, it was made clear to me that, you know, there was no requirement for an environmental survey, but we had the mining survey done, the topographical survey, and all other surveys that had been required up to that point have been done to this stage. I mean, we've been 2 years in the process now since the initial pre-plan, which seems an inordinate amount of time, really. And we've been pushing through this planning application throughout the 2 years and not really getting anywhere with moving it forward.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Van Tent, did you want to come back before I bring it?
No, I think you've answered all the questions. I mean, I have got reservations. I mean, nothing against the developer personally, but I have got reservations, as in the wildlife thing hasn't been done. It might impact on the public footpaths, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Nadeem, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just very briefly, I think the report's clear. I don't think there's any reasons why we need to refuse this application. It seems of an application and the plans are for a high standard housing accommodation to be provided in Nelson, which is needed, and at the same time respecting the open space. So absolutely happy to support your motion.
Okay. Is there any other councillors that wish to speak before I move this to the vote?
Chairman.
Oh, hi, Sheila.
Yeah, can I say I approve the application? I'm only on audio at the moment for problems with IT, so I'm just letting you know that I'm in favour of the application.
Fine. I'll come to you in a second, Sheila. If we lose you for some reason, then I think Jane knows what your indication is. So if there's no other speakers, we've got a motion to approve the application as set out. That's been seconded. I'll read each councillor's name out. If you can say you're either in favour, so if you say for, if you're against, and if you wish to abstain, you can say abstain. Councillor George Adam. Councillor George Adam.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Nadeem Ahmed.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Zafar Ali.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Mohammed Amr.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Eileen Ansar, she joined us, Jen? No. Councillor Mohammed Aslam.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Tommy Cooner.
For.
Thank you. Has Julie Henderson joined us, Jen? No. Councillor Mohammed Iqbal, I'm for. Councillor Ashjad Mahmood.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Kath Shaw, has she joined us?
No, she hasn't. No.
Councillor Yvonne Tennant.
Against.
Thank you. And Councillor Sheila Wicks.
For.
Thank you. So Jane, I get that there's one councillor against and everybody else is in favour. So by my maths, the application is approved as set out.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Wallace, you're more than welcome to stop for the rest of the meeting. But if you want to go and enjoy your evening, feel free to leave the meeting. But your application's been passed, sir.
I really appreciate your work tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Okay, the next application that I've got a speaker for, and Councillor Aslam, you may want to leave the meeting at this point.
Okay. Yes, Chair.
No, you need to leave the meeting.
Hang on. Where is it now?
Has he gone, Jane?
No, not yet. He's just muted himself.
Yeah, no. Councillor
Right,
Aslam,
he's gone now.
He's gone now, that's fine.
He's gone now.
Okay, the next application that we've got a speaker for is for the change of use of a social club to retail use, and that's at the Palatine Working Men's Club on Norfolk Street in Nelson. I have two speakers for this application. The first speaker I've got is Rahila Iqbal, and likewise, you've got up to 5 minutes in which to address the committee. Once you've spoken, you will only be allowed to come back in if council have got any speakers. So if you'd like to unmute yourself, Rahila, and then you can address the committee.
Oh, yeah, sorry, no, it's just one person that will be speaking, and it's myself. I'm Almira.
All right, okay.
I'll be speaking on behalf of my dad.
Okay, Almira, so the floor is yours for up to 5 minutes.
That's perfect. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone in the council for letting us speak at this meeting. So I will be talking on behalf of my father, Muhammad Iqbal. We have come from Ireland. My dad has a very successful business like the one we have proposed in Ireland, which has helped create many jobs within the community, helped the locals by meeting their daily needs and much more. So my dad is planning to use the upstairs area for wholesale online business and downstairs for Asian and multi-nation grocery store, as well as trade wholesale for local businesses and the surrounding areas of Nelson, as it relates to his previous successful business in Ireland. Hence, he's got great experience which will lead him to a successful business here in Nelson. The business will consist more of trading, and a very small proportion, approximately 20% of it, will consist of retail. So we don't need that much. It's just 20% that will consist of retail. He would also like to move to Nelson in the future, which will allow him to be more helpful for the local community in many ways. My dad has searched the whole of Nelson town in the last 6 months and seen there is a desperate need of a business like this in Nelson that he has proposed for. From the last 6 months, he has tried searching for a place in Nelson Town Centre, but he wasn't able to find any place with this much size, with good parking space, and at this price of a rent for opening his business in Nelson Town Centre. Hence, this is why he's left with only this option. The application will primarily cater for wholesale and will be a less intensive use than the existing use as a working men's club. It will contribute towards strengthening the local economy and will supply and support local businesses. Similar alternative stores are also found outside Pendle. The application seeks effective use of land by reusing a vacant building and making a positive contribution to regeneration of the borough and assist in the natural growth of the town centre. It should also be noted that the proposal requires extensive floor space to provide a variety of bulk goods within which cannot be accommodated within the town centre. Nelson community will benefit from this store in several ways. As it's a multi-nation food store, the business will be providing different kind of products that's not available in Nelson or the surrounding areas of Nelson. People of Nelson have to travel special outside of the town to purchase certain products, but after successfully opening this store, there would be people from the surrounding area will come to Nelson for these products. This will also include household products, multi-nation food products, and a variety of other products that will be sold online, such as clothes, accessories, jewelry accessories, bags. So there'll be a wide variety there. It is my dearest request to Nelson Community Chairman to please grant my dad the required permission to open his business in this place, as we have already searched the whole of Nelson Town Centre for more than 6 months and we were unable to find this size space with the parking at this cost. If you can provide us with the same size space with similar parking at this price rent, we are more than happy to consider it. If you can help us find in Nelson Town Centre, we'll be more than happy to consider that instead. My dad would like to help the community of Nelson by creating jobs for the locals, help them with their daily day-to-day needs for multinational food supply, help the local businesses in trading, as well as selling household products and loads more online. So a lot of stuff will be done online as well. My dad's business will cater and help many individuals. Therefore, it would be my humble request to Nelson Council Chairman to grant the required permission to open this business in Nelson.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Almira, for your contribution. Before I bring councillors in, Alex, is there anything that we need to be aware of at this stage? And I'm asking you that question, that the lady seems to have talked extensively about them looking for other properties. Has that been documented to the council by the agents to address policy 25?
Yeah, through you, Chair. It's there are some details, but they're very scant. We don't know which properties have been looked at in detail in Nelson Town Centre. I also note that that was mentioned to do with the cost of other properties within the town centre. That's not something that can be taken into account in a sequential assessment. Properties can't be discounted on the basis that they're a higher rent, because rents are generally higher within town centres. There are available vacant sites and properties within Nelson Town Centre. I think we all know that. There's the former bus station, which is currently sitting undeveloped. There are numerous units within Pendle Rise and other sites throughout the town centre that could be developed for this. So it hasn't been sufficiently justified that there are no available sites for this within the town centre.
Okay, thanks.
Furthermore,
sorry, go on.
The mention of this being a wholesale use rather than predominantly retail use, it is a retail use that's been applied for. So it's been applied for as A1 at the time of the application, but that would be Class E now, and that would be a pure retail use.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Alex. Okay, I've got speakers. I've got Councillor Nadeem Ahmed first. Nadeem?
Yes, Chairman. Sorry, my battery's running low at the same time, so I'll continue speaking. I think in terms of the use which this building is going to be put to, I mean, my concern for this particular building is a significant building within the Whitefield ward as it currently is. It was, as you're well aware, has been used as a place for social events in the past, but the last few years has hardly been used as far as I live close by. And my concern is if we're not careful, we're going to have a significant building in Nelson which is going to lie vacant. I would rather have that building brought back into use and used in a positive manner. As the lady spoke earlier on behalf of her father, thank her for the information she's provided. I think it would be helpful in terms of job creation within Nelson, bringing the building back into use. I understand in terms of policy 25 the points the planning officers made in terms of trying to locate to the building, but realistically, you mentioned a couple of buildings, there's no way that they are suitable for what they want to do in terms of the size and the scale of their potential project. You mentioned the bus station site. I mean, if someone wants to start a business today, that's no site to even consider because there is no building there. In terms of the town centre, then you've got issues in terms of opening hours, and I don't think there's a site in there that's big enough in comparison to this site. I would like to see this application improved, but I can see what you mean in terms of addressing policy 25. It's all right for me to try and argue the case, but if that hasn't been documented, so I accept and concede on that point. I think it might be helpful if we defer this application and give the applicants the opportunity to go through that sequential approach and try and address them issues. Because what I won't want to see is this application just refused tonight, and I think there'll be a loss. Can I just ask, if the application had been made rather than retail as like a cash and carry type building, would that have made a different conclusion in terms of your recommendation?
Are you saying cash and carry in terms of wholesale or
wholesale? Yeah. What difference would that make in terms of?
Alex, can you help?
Through you, Chair. A wholesale retail club, like a sort of cash and carry type arrangement, that is something that can be a sui generis use that wouldn't fall within the requirements necessarily for a sequential assessment. However, the application hasn't been made on the basis of that, and that doesn't appear to be what is proposed in the details that we have. So our concern is that this would just end up as a retail use predominantly.
Right.
So, it is something that as submitted and as we're assessing tonight would be a significant departure from policy. And so it would need to be referred to Policy and Resources Committee if it were to be approved. on the basis that
you got that in early today, Alex.
Yeah. Can I then? Yeah, thank you for that. I understand the point you're making, Alex. From what I've read and from what I've heard prior to the meeting and during the meeting, it's quite mixed in terms of what the actual use is going to be. So I think we do need more clarification as to the exact use and in terms of addressing policy 25. So can I move that we defer this application for that information to be provided by the applicants?
Is the deferment seconded by anybody?
I'll second that.
Who's that, Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before I bring George in, I'll move an amendment to that. I mean, first of all, thank you to Almira for addressing the committee and giving us an insight in terms of what her father proposes to do. You know, I was asked last week by a number of people that was it me trying to open a cash and carry in Nelson. Obviously that's been confirmed this evening that it's nothing to do with me. But in terms of the application, I mean, Councillor Dimam is right that what's before us to what's been relayed to us this evening seem to be two different things to an extent. And, you know, Alex is right that what we're determining the application for is predominantly a one use in terms of retail. And that's not the impression that I'm getting from the young lady that spoke on behalf of her family, that predominantly will be wholesale online with some retail. The issue around policy 25 is something that Alex is quite right, that even if we as a committee wanted to overturn it, still go to the policy committee, and experience shows there that that committee tends to uphold the decision to protect the policy. In an ideal, if we were just looking at clarifying policy 25, I would be more than happy to support what Councillor Ahmed is saying in terms of deferment. But it appears as though the application has set out before us is going to be something totally different to what is being proposed. And the council has a policy, and the applicant may or may not be aware that if the council refuses an application, and Alex will correct me if I'm wrong, the applicant has the opportunity within 12 months to resubmit an application at no cost to them. So the only cost would be to them is to obviously ask their agent to clarify the important issue around policy 25 if they want to proceed with retail, or if they want to change it to wholesale, clearly address some of the issues that our planning department would ask for. So I think it's unfair that we defer this for further information, because it in effect will equate to virtually a new application, in my opinion. There's nothing to stop the applicant going away doing exactly what they want to do and making sure that their agent's aware of what they want to do, and then putting that to the planning department. And the recommendation may well change at that point. But at this stage, I'm going to move the recommendation as set out by Alex, because what's there now is purely for retail with very little wholesale. And if it's the other way around, then the applicants need to go away and think about that. So I'm going to move, I think, uniquely and agree with the officer recommendation. I'll bring if there's a seconder, Alex, and I'll bring you in a second. Is there a seconder for my recommendation?
I'll second it.
Who's that, Yvonne?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Alex, you wanted to come back in?
Just one point: the ability to resubmit within a year is for an application of essentially the same type and description. So it may be that the application would be changed so much that that it wouldn't benefit from a free go. That is a possibility.
Yeah, that's the advice the applicant needs to seek from their agent. Yeah. Thanks for that, Alex. George, you indicated to speak.
Yeah, I'm going off the subject now. I've just received a message off Julie Henderson. In fact, I've just read it. She sent it earlier. Can I give her apologies? She's been called back into work urgently.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. I'm sure George made a note of that. Cheers, George. Is there any other councillors that wish to speak? I can't see any other hands indicated. Yeah. Who's that?
Councillor Iqbal.
Ashjar.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I echo what Councillor Nadeem is saying. I mean, I would be happy to support. I think this building's been quite empty for a long time. I mean, I think the original use that it was being used for, it never had that. You know, it's never had that full potential over the years, and been derelict. I think, well, not derelict, but it's not had the, like I said, the full use. And I think bringing it back into use and providing that community service, I think it will do a good be good for the local businesses and also employing people and stuff, and bringing this old building back into use. So I'll happily support it.
You supporting what? Defer. Yours moving approval. Okay. Is there anybody to second approval?
Councillor Tennant, she did a second you.
No, she seconded me, Jane.
Yeah.
I'm looking. Ashjad's moving approval of the application.
Oh, sorry, right.
Is there a seconder for that? Because if the application is approved, it will go to policy committee, as Alex has said.
I'll second Ashjad.
Who's that? Zafar?
Zafar.
Okay, so we've got 3 applications on the table now, 3 motions, and I'll take them in reverse order as is the council's constitution. So we're now voting on whether to approve the application as set out, and with a clear understanding that it will be referred to policy committee. So I'll read councillor's name out. If you're in favour of approval, for; if you're against, and if you're abstaining. Nadeem, you've got your hand up. Is it to say something, or is it a legacy hand?
No, I'm just going to make one final quick point. I think before we go to the vote, I think it's important, like I said, it's a significant building, and it's absolutely crucial that we bring it back into use, because I can see what's going on. I mean, Councillor Aslam's not here, but I've been speaking to the Councillor Aslam and some of the local residents in terms of the issues surrounding that building over the last couple of years. Gladly, some of them issues have been resolved, and my concern is if that building is continue and left as it is, it's going to be attracting further issues and problems in terms of antisocial behaviour and criminal activity in the area. And I'd rather have that building back into use. And I think we need to send an important message, especially in these difficult times. We've got the potential of significant investment into Nelson and job opportunities. I think we need to grab every opportunity at this moment in time. Thank you.
Okay. Yvonne, you've still got your hand up. Is that a legacy hand before I move to the vote?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, my only concern is, I mean, God knows we could do with a business like that in Nelson. But my only concern is traffic. That road is so narrow anyway. And that is my main concern with it, would be access and cars double parking down the road.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I think we've had a good debate now, colleagues. I'm going to move to the vote. So we're now voting on Ashjad's approval motion. So if you're in favour, for; if you're against, and if you want to abstain. Councillor George Adam. George. Are you there, George? I think he's still with us, isn't he, Jane?
I can't see him. I think he may have dropped off.
All right, I'll come back. I'll come back to him in a second. Nadeem.
For.
Thank you. Zafar.
For.
Thank you. Amma.
For.
Eileen's not with us. Aslam's obviously out of the room. Tommy.
For.
Julie's not with us. Myself against. Ashjad.
For.
Neil's not here. Saki's not here. Kath's still not with us. I take it, Jane.
No.
Yvonne.
Abstain.
Okay. And Sheila.
I'll abstain on that one.
Okay. So based on that, Jane, I get that the approvals have it.
Yeah.
So that now, well, it doesn't need to become the substantive motion. It's obviously been approved. So the application will refer to the next Policy and Resources Committee for a final decision. Thank you. Okay, the next item that I have, does somebody want to ring Councillor Aslam to come back into the meeting? Nadeem, do you want to do the honours? Okay, next item that I've got speakers on is for the erection of dormers to the front and rear at 68 Lombshire Road, Nelson.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, Councillor Aslam, you're back into the meeting now, so we're moving on to the next item.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Ashad, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it was on this the next application.
No, I've got two names to speak, so I'll come back to you in a second.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Umar Farouk as the architect and Gadia Kama, are you both wanting to speak or not?
I won't be speaking, but I'm present and available for questions if necessary.
Gadia, is that the same with yourself?
Yes, that is the same for me.
Okay, that's fine. Appreciate that. Ashad, now it's your turn.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, basically I was going to move recommendation for approval. I know the report kind of touches on the conservation area and you know the work that has been done on parts of the Lombshire Road. Basically, the report says from a residential amenity point of view, there's no detrimental effect on neighbours. There's no issues with the highways. So I think looking at, like I say, the report, even on one section on page 27, the report says the harm caused to this significance of the conservation area will be less than substantial. So, I mean, I'm move recommendation for approval. There's already a couple of houses on Lombshire Road, especially on the upper block and the opposite blocks, including on this block. There are already dormers, quite large ones at the front and at the back. So I'm a recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you. Nadeem, are you seconding that? I'll second.
Yes. All right. I'll second and then speak as well.
Councillor Azam, if you need to speak, you have to stick your hand up. We can't keep interrupting. I've got Nadeem Ahmed next.
Yeah.
Councillor Nadeem Ahmed.
Yeah, happy to second that, Chairman. Totally agree with Asjad and the comments he's made in terms of this application. I mean, in terms of dormer windows already within the conservation area, in particular, especially Lombshire Road, there's several dormers already on Lombshire Road. We've had this debate in the past on, I think it was Every Street, and I could possibly understand the argument to that stage in terms of Every Street because there were no other dormers. But if you go down Lombshire Road, there's a number of dormers within in that same block and the block opposite and further up. So I don't see any reason why we should be not approving this this evening.
Okay, thank you. Alex, you wanted to come in? You're on mute, Alex.
Just one point on the design of the dormer. It's proposed for a flat roof dormer to the front with and both of the dormers to have UPVC cladding in white, which would stand out like a sore thumb. So we would advise, if the committee are minded to approve it, as always, to delegate it subject to amended plans for a pitched roof dormer to the front, and for to attach a condition requiring it to be slate rather than UPVC cladding.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Umar, you're the architect. Do you have any comments in terms of what Alex has just said? Are you happy with that?
I think on the rear one, if we can stay with the UPVC and the front one, probably make it more sensitive. We'll probably be happy with that.
Okay, Alex, are you happy with that as well?
Sorry, we wouldn't be happy with that because the rear dormer is quite prominent because it's towards the end of the row, so it's quite prominent at the rear. So our preference would be for slate, but ultimately it's for the committee to make that decision.
Okay, Councillors Asjad Mahmood and Nadeem Ahmed.
I'll happily accept if the applicant is willing to accept the front to be changed. Then happily support that. Yeah.
And Nadeem, are you happy with that as well?
Yeah, happy with the material. I'm just thinking in terms of the design. I know Alex has mentioned in terms of having a pitch roof. How is that going to impact in terms of the size of it? Because sometimes if it's quite a large dormer, to get a pitch roof on it might be impossible.
Can I, before I bring Alex in, Uma, in terms of the pitch, I assume that's not going to affect the design greatly.
Not really. This is one of the bigger houses on the street, so it's got a reasonable ceiling height, so it should be okay. It might not be a steep pitch, but it'll be a reasonable pitch.
Okay, that's fine. So both ward councillors are moving that we approve this or delegate grant consent to the planning manager, subject to the amended design on the front dormer to be sensitive to the area and having a pitch on the front side. So that's been moved and seconded. Is there any other speakers on this? I can't see anybody else. No. Okay, I'm going to move to the vote. So if you're in favour of the application, it's 4. If you're against. If you want to abstain, abstain. Councillor George Adam. George, still not with us yet. No. Okay. Councillor Nadeem Ahmed.
4.
Zafar Ali.
4.
Mohammed Amr.
4.
Eileen's not with us. Mohammed Aslam.
4.
Tommy Cooner.
4.
Julie's not with us. I'm in favour. Ashjad Mahmood.
4.
Thank you. Kath's not with us. Yvonne Tennant.
4.
And Sheila Wicks.
4.
Okay, thank you very much. I take that to be unanimous decision to approve the application or delegate grant consent to the planning manager. So, Uma, and Gaudia, you're more than welcome to stop for the rest of the meeting, but if you want to sign off, you can feel free to sign off. Thank you for attendance. Okay, I've no other speakers in terms of planning application, so I'm going to go back to the agenda. And the next item is the change of use to a car storage and erection of boundary treatment resurfacing on land to the east of 27 Pilgrim Street, Nelson. Alex, is there anything that we need to know before I bring councillors in?
No, Chairman, no updates to the report.
Okay, that's fine. Who would like to kick this off? Let's just see. Nadeem, I can see your hand up and Yvonne Tennant. Are they new hands or old hands?
Old hand, sorry.
Yvonne, is yours an old hand or a new hand?
Mine's an old one as well.
Okay. Just bear with us 1 second then. Okay. Is there any councillors that want to speak on this? Looking at ward councillors. Zafar?
Is this another application from you, Mr. Chairman?
No, it's not me.
Just checking.
I mean, if there's no speakers, then I'm happy to move the officer's recommendation as set out.
I'll happily second it.
Okay. Again, to save, well, I'll actually have to go through it on planning, I've been told. So if you're in favour, if you're in favour, just say 4. If you're against. If you want to abstain, abstain. George, still not joined us, Jane? No. Nadeem Ahmed?
4.
Zafar Ali?
4.
Mohammed Amr?
4.
Mohammed Aslam?
4.
Tommy Cooner?
4.
Mohammed Iqbal? 4. Ashjad Mahmood?
4.
Yvonne Tennant?
4.
And Sheila Wicks?
4.
Okay, that's unanimously approved. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The next one is the erection of dormer windows to the front and rear roof slopes at 5 Elizabeth Street. I've read the report and take on board what the planning officer is saying, but I will be moving that we approve this application for the front and rear dormers. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you, Zafar. Anybody else want to speak? Alex?
Sorry, just a second, Chairman. So the same as the previous application, I would recommend delegate grant consent for pitched roof rather than box front dormer.
Okay, I'm happy to accept that. Okay, so I'll go through the The voting again. George, I still take it, hasn't joined us. Nadeem Ahmed.
4.
Zafar Ali.
4, Chairman. 4.
Thank you. Amma.
4.
Thank you. Mohammed Aslam.
4.
Tommy Cooney.
It's fine. 4.
No, it says Thomas on my sheet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Either one.
Mohammed Iqbal. 4. Asjad Mahmood.
4.
Yvonne Tennant.
4.
Sheila Wicks.
4.
Thank you very much. So that's approved as well. And the last planning application, oh no, that's all the planning applications done, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you. Alex, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want, but
if I'm not needed, I'll
no, unless you're an expert on financial matters, then I think you're free to go.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, item 7 is an update on enforcement matters. I'll move that we note those. Somebody second me.
Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. That's fine. Item 8 is the capital programme. It's just an update at this meeting. There'll be a full report submitted to the next meeting, but we've got the whopping balance of £1,000 at the moment, so we can all have the argument next month, Councillor Asjad Mahmood, to spend that £1,000. I'm sure you do. So that's just for noting. We've got a verbal update in terms of Springbank buildings, and I'll just read out what we've got. So the update is from Environmental Health. A statutory notice has been witnessed by officers, resulting in the service of an abatement notice on the owner of the business relating to order in July 2020. The Environmental Health Department, since issuing the notice, have witnessed order from burning and are considering taking further action, whilst also monitoring the situation for any breaches of the abatement notice. Basically, the environmental health people have served a notice and they're considering serving further notices. Is that sufficient for a verbal update, Nadeem?
No. I mean, number one asked for a detailed report in 2 aspects. One was in terms of the point environmental health have raised. I understand from residents even this evening, the problem is continuing as we speak, or a bit earlier on. So it's totally unacceptable. And I would request a report next month in terms of, it said it in terms of environmental. Have they said they're considering the legal action? Is that what it says?
No, they've served an abatement notice already, but they're witnessing further contraventions of that notice, and so they're considering further action at the moment.
So I need a full report, and I think that's part of the legal process, gathering evidence. That's fine. They need to continue that, but we need to know whether there is sufficient evidence at this stage to take this further if the problem continues. And that was one of the aspects. The second one was in terms of the planning aspect of that site. I mean, we mentioned earlier on, we were talking on the former Palatine, and one of the council mentioned in terms of the parking issues. But if you want to witness parking issues, just go down on a weekend or an evening, you'll see parking problems. People trying to turn left, right, can't see anything. There's double parking. It's a nightmare. And some of the residents in that area are fed up. So I think there's 2 separate aspects which the report needs to provide details on. And first is in terms of the smell and the burning, and secondly is in terms of the potential planning aspects of a potential breach.
Okay. Just for everything asked, Julie, can you pick that up, please, and then ask Environmental Health for a written updated report, and also planning in terms of some of the activities that are going on there as to what action we are taking, if any, please.
Yes, I will do, no problem.
Okay. Asjad, you want to speak?
Yeah, just to second what Councillor Nadeem Owens has just mentioned. I think we need a written report too, and obviously the environmental health are gathering all the evidence and everything, but it's having a very detrimental effect on local residents, so I think we need to speed up that process, so happily second that.
Okay, that's fine then. Thank you for that. The next item is the reopening of town centres. I'll just give you an update on that from Hassan. There's a meeting scheduled for next week with the subcommittee, and spending proposals will be discussed at that meeting. Once the proposals are agreed, there'll be an action plan put in place prioritising areas that need to be spent first. The funding, as you know, has to be spent by March 2021. So we're currently on track with the project, and any key issues that are pulled together from the grant will hopefully be spent, and will be delegated that to the subcommittee. So that's a verbal update from Hassan, and hopefully we'll have a further update at the next meeting once the subcommittee has met. Next item is removal of payphones, and that's at Swindon Hall Road and the junction of Regent Street. BT are just giving us a consultation notice on whether the payphone is still needed or not. I mean, it's part of my ward. I mean, the payphone is very rarely used, and you can tell by the condition of it and what a poor state it is. So I have no objections in terms of it being removed, because the other option is that somebody can buy it for £1 and just leave it there as an ornament. If it was a red telephone box, then maybe somebody would, but the condition that it's in now, I think it'd do everybody a favour by having it removed. Anybody got any other comments on that? Nope. Thank you. And then item 12 is the outstanding items. There's 4 items, 2 from March. I think the residents-only parking scheme. I understand that's been progressed at the moment, Julie. So
yes, yeah, Sandra is on with that. Just unfortunately wasn't able to report back for this meeting, but I'll see where she's up to and see if we can get a report back for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. And then the other 2 items were put on last month, so hopefully there'll be reports coming to those at the next meeting. I take it, Julie.
Chairman, can I just come in?
Yeah, those are both from planning. I'll have another word of planning about those.
Okay, Councillor Zaffaralla, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. In relation to outstanding items, there is, I believe, it wasn't at the last meeting, maybe the meeting before, there was supposed to be ongoing discussions around the land at Vernon Street at Policy and Resources Committee. I don't know if somebody could shed some light on that, or, if there has been, if not, then can we please bring that back to next month to see what the next stage of the process of enforcement will be around that land?
My understanding was that at the last Policy Resource Committee, and if my memory serves me right, we supported the area committee's recommendation for the council to look at taking some action. So we've asked officers to proceed with that, Councillor Ali.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. There being no further items, can I thank everybody for your participation this evening, and hopefully next month you'll have your normal chairman back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.